welcome to Good Deeds. I'm your host, Keith Erickson, and our guest is Norfolk County Register of Deeds, Bill O'Donnell. Bill, always a pleasure to have you on the show. I think we have you every quarter to talk about the numbers, and welcome again.
Well, thanks, Keith. Thanks to you for doing this, and BCAM, and thanks to the citizens of Braintree for watching. You know, when we were here in the last quarter, I think I said, you know, like the Red Sox, it was a very poor, start, to the calendar year. And for this show, we have what we're going on for 6 months. So we looked at the statistics from January 1st to June 30th. And for the 6 months, the total documents recorded here in Norfolk County are down. And for instance, in 2018, from January 1st to June 30th, there was 67,955 documents. And in 2019, it was 64,981. That's down 4%. And Braintree Braintree did better than the county, but it kind of mirrored that for the 6 month period. In 2018, it was 3,054, and in 2019, 3,014, or down 1%. So again, we have to remember over that 6 month period, January, February, March were very low numbers, so it's kind of reflective. In the second quarter countywide, and the second quarter goes from April 1st to June 30th, the county document volume year to year was only down 1%. So it shows a little growth, but one of the components is deeds, and deeds are transactions that, whether people are buying a house or selling a house, a deed gets recorded. And those numbers were down as well. Countywide, there were 8,504 in 2018. In 2019, 8,292, or down 2%. And in Quincy, for that same 6 month period, 265 deeds or transactions in 2018 versus 257, or down 3%. So again, document volume was down, the deeds were down, and another indicator are mortgages. When you borrow money, the lender requires you to sign a note and sign a mortgage, and they record the mortgage to make sure they get paid. And when you look at it, those numbers are also down. Countywide, there were 11,981 mortgages for that 6 month period, January 1st to June 30th. And in 2019, for that same 6 month period, it was 11,640, or down 3%. And in Braintree, it was 662 in 2018 to 642 in 2019, or down 3%. So again, Braintree's sort of mirroring what's going on in the county. Some good news is in the second quarter, as far as mortgages, again, from April 1st to June 30th, Braintree's borrowings or number of mortgages were up 2%, and in the county it was up 4%. And interest rates have stabilized. They may be. Some people think there's going to be no action. Other people I just heard coming in that there's some inflationary concerns that may be going up. Who knows? But the interest rates are relatively low. So again, that's always a factor as far as the mortgages. So don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, like the document volumes seem down, and again, there are pockets of, Braintree's a very desirable town to be in. I'm hearing from brokers that it's still a low inventory, so that it's still competitive as far as buyers. We hear stories at the registry, buyers, having, getting outbid or losing out because, there seems to be a lack of inventory.
What do you think we can do maybe to actually, increase that? That seems to be the one of the sticking points. There's no inventory left for people to buy. That's why houses continue to rise. That's good if you're selling, I guess, but if you're trying to buy, that's got to be a pretty difficult situation to be in, right?
It's a problem, and that's something that communities through zoning and things like that are trying to look at. How do you get more housing, not just in Braintree, but regionally, and it's a statewide issue.
Are we saturated here in the Norfolk County? Is there land actually kind of being developed? How do you see it? Maybe
there's 28 communities in Norfolk County. There's clearly more land in the western part of the county. For instance, Franklin for many of the years has been one of the fastest growing communities. So there's more opportunities to build. But we also see communities like Braintree or I'm from Norwood or Dedham that have access to a train system, to the MBTA, that there is competition in those communities because people want to be, have access to the city of Boston. One good statistic I always point out, Homestead, we talk about, the biggest asset most of us have are our homes, and the Homestead is a document that if people file it, it protects their home from forced sale for certain things. So it's it's written in the state legislature, it's a good thing to have. But I point it out because, again, my hat's off to BCAM, because I think more and more people are aware of homesteads need to be filed. So here we have trends. I've mentioned how these numbers are down.
Sure.
But homesteads countywide for the 6-month period were 5,569 in 2018 to 5,605 in 2018, or up 1%.
I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, but in Braintree, it was up 7% over that 6-month period. So again, I think programs like this that communicate information, I think more people are aware of ways to protect their houses now than say when my parents bought a house. The homestead law was in effect, but my dad climbed poles for the Boston Edison. My mom was a homemaker and later worked as a secretary. I think there was no internet or no shows like this that people could educate themselves to help protect their property.
We're talking with Bill O'Donnell. He's the Register of Deeds down there in Dedham. Let's give the people where they can go to get some information.
Sure. You could go to our website. It's again, the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds is located in Dedham. The website is www.norfolkdeeds.org. I'm very proud that one of the first things we did was create a customer service department, so you can call that number directly, 781-461-6101, and get some information. And go on the website, because we do have a lot of good information for first-time home buyers. We also have information for people that might be struggling with foreclosure on our website. We're very proud. We've partnered up with Quincy Community Action Program, which is one of your neighbors, but also there's a new name that
we like
to mention.
New.
With new names, well,
yeah.
meet the new name. It's the same as the old name. Right. It's NeighborWorks Housing Solutions. They are a newly created corporation because there's been a merger. I always come here and talk about NeighborWorks of Southern Massachusetts, who we partnered up with. Well, NeighborWorks of Southern Massachusetts has partnered up with Housing Solutions for Southeastern Massachusetts, and for both organizations, they seem to have been very proud to have merged. So the new entity, NeighborWorks Housing Solutions, we've partnered up with them, those two groups, Quincy Community Action Program. So if someone out here in Braintree is facing a foreclosure, get the help. These programs help people through the process. They also have a financial literacy component, give some educational help. And that's some good news, at least on the numbers front, is the foreclosure deeds, and the deeds are at the end of the process. That there was a foreclosure countywide for 6 months.
We're talking, again, remind people that it's from January 1st, 2019 this year.
So it's from January 1st to June 30th of 2018. There was 116 foreclosure deeds. For that same 6-month period, it's 63, or down 46%. And in Quincy, for that same 6-month period, it was down 57%. So again, that's a good sign. At the registry, the only involvement we have is when the deeds get recorded at the end, we see it. But we've been tracking the beginning of the process. By law, the bank or the lender that's foreclosing has to file a notice to foreclose. And there's been good news there as well. In 2018, for that 6-month period, 362 versus 213 in 2019 are down 41%. And in Braintree, there was 23 foreclosure notices, and sometimes people get the help, sometimes they get foreclosed, but that's the beginning of the process. In 2019, there was only 6. It was down 74%. And for the second quarter, which is April 1st to June 30th, Braintree had only 2 notices to foreclose. So Again, one person struggling with foreclosure, probably
Too
one
many.
person too many.
Right.
Get the help. There's
What would
links
you-
on our website.
I was just going to say, what would you say to somebody who may be in that position that's watching this show right now and say, okay, I'm watching Bill, I'm trying to get some advice. Where would they go?
I would start with the nonprofit, because you're struggling with foreclosure, and anyone can struggle with foreclosure. You could have had a job situation, a loss of a job. There could be some medical catastrophe going on.
Sure.
So these two nonprofit groups, you start there because they're not going to charge you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're going to give you some help because it's a legal process. The last thing people probably have is money to pay for an attorney.
Sure.
So go to these groups and get the help and see what your options are. Also on our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org, we have a link to the Attorney General's office because they have some assistance and some help. So it's there. I think what people do is they get this notice, and like anything, sometimes we don't confront our problems, and this is not going to get better with time.
Yeah.
Don't wait till the sheriff's department is out there doing overseeing a sale of your property. It's too late. As soon as you get you're probably aware there's some troubles going on before you even get the notice to foreclose.
Sure.
So I wouldn't wait for the notice to foreclose. If you're getting some notices and you're having some struggles, contact these groups. I think that's the best way to start seeing what your options are and hopefully getting the help you need. And what I like about these nonprofit groups is they'll have that hard conversation with you. It's not, oh, we're going to keep you in your house just to keep you in your house. If they see that there's no sustainability, they will help transition these people to other housing alternatives.
You mentioned the Homestead Act. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the parameters of that? And it only costs, what, $35 to actually file for a homestead? Is that correct?
Yes, that's the filing fee. I know there's bills out there to increase filing fees, but that's the current one. And it's a relatively modest filing fees. A lot of the filing fees in Massachusetts went up in 2003, but that is a relatively modest filing fee to get a document filed at the registry that protects your property. Again, the reason why you might want to consider doing it is, I always tell people, hey, we drive, and sometimes we think we have a lot of insurance on our car, but we hit somebody. I was just reading on the way down here, someone hit someone on a bike. You could have a serious, a $400,000 case. Well, if you only have $100,000 worth of insurance on your car, at some point the insurance company is going to turn that over, but that injured party is going to look to you to satisfy the rest of that judgment. And again, the homestead in Massachusetts, it's on a principal residence. And if you're lucky enough at 18 to be owning the property and you live there as a principal residence, you should file a homestead. If you're on the elderly spectrum, Massachusetts legislature has defined elderly as 62 and above, and they have some special things for those people. But the thing is, file the document. It gives you some extra protections. It also, if you have a homestead filed, protects the proceeds of the sale of your house for a limited period of time, 1 year, from creditors swooping in. Or if your house burnt down and you have a homestead recorded, when you get that casualty insurance check to rebuild your house, creditors can't swoop in and get that money, again, for a limited period of time of 2 years. So there's some good protections that have been written in by the state legislators. Thank you, state legislators. You have Representative Cusack, you have Senator Timilty, you have Senator Keenan, and the good news is they wrote a statute where there's an automatic homestead, but it's only for $125,000, and it gets a portion depending on how many people own the house. So for $35, I'd rather have the extra protections.
For $35, I'd rather try that myself. Talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you do in other communities, not only here in Braintree, but you go out and you try and meet face-to-face with people in the community, try to improve what their knowledge of what you guys do and how they can protect themselves too.
Sure. What we've done, first of all, I have to thank Mayor Sullivan and the city council, the town council. They let us use the town hall to have office hours. So there's 28 communities. We go around and people come in with real estate questions, or they need a copy of their deed, or they're not too sure if their discharges have been filed because they know they've paid their mortgages off. So we try to bring the registry into people's homes and businesses, and we try to bring the registry into the 28 communities. So some people are sophisticated enough they can look all this stuff up on the internet. We go back to year 1, 1793, but it's always good to come in and people have questions, and we sit down and we make great use of the Braintree Town Hall for that. And we do that in all the communities of Norfolk County. And also, we have been invited. We've spoken to different community organizations. I've been to VFW halls. I've been to the Rotaries. I've been to Lions clubs. I've been to retired clubs. I've been to there's a garden club, woman community clubs, where people sometimes.
I think people love that face to face.
Well,
right?
they need a lot of times these groups just they just, as I said. Why'd you ask me? They're like, hey, we're desperate for a speaker, So no, great.
Bill's on tour.
Yeah. They're desperate for a speaker, but invariably,
it does.
People come up and say, I learned a lot and learned things about the homestead. Learned things about the scams that are going on. Learned about ways to protect their property. For instance. We have at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds a consumer notification service. The FBI has said that one of the fastest growing white-collar crimes is property and deed fraud. You can go on our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org and sign up to get an email so that if Keith Erickson, if something comes through but Keith Erickson, you get an email. I sign up myself. I get, anytime a William O'Donnell document gets recorded, I get an email. I look it up. If you're not good at looking it up on the computer, you can call our customer service center, and they will, look up the information for you. And someday, I haven't had it. Sometimes it's a William. I always tell people it's a William J. O'Donnell. I'm William Patrick O'Donnell. It's a different, different person. There might be a time where I get that email and I say, wait a minute, that's the deed to my house. I didn't sign it, or that's a mortgage on my property. I didn't sign it. We're not going to prevent the fraud. And these type of frauds are happening around the country. I haven't seen it around here, but it's only a matter of time. We're not going to prevent the fraud, but now I can get on it right away. So that's why I would urge people to consider at least signing up for the Consumer Notification Service. We were the first registry here in Massachusetts to do that, and other registries have it. And there's 21 registries around Massachusetts. I just think it's another way to protect your home.
Okay, you're watching Good Deeds. I'm your host, Keith Erickson, alongside Bill O'Donnell down there at the Register. Talk to us a little bit about mortgage discharge, if you could.
Sure. When we talked about mortgages as far as statistics. When you borrow money, that bank wants to make sure they get paid, and that's why they have the mortgages recorded at the registry. If your loan gets paid off, or you might have paid off your equity line, or maybe you never used your equity line and you closed it out, you want to make sure that the discharges have gotten recorded at the registry. The banks are doing a better job. I'm a big believer in community banking. You got good community banks around here. You can go down to those community banks, get good customer service, and get that discharge. Sometimes the banks forwarded people the discharges, and it just wasn't made clear that you really got to get it to the registry. So. Rather than wait till the eve of you selling a house, as we've seen people come in desperate, they say, gee, I just got a call from the closing attorney, I need a discharge, what do I do? We do have on our website a document, Where Has My Bank Gone?, where we have state and federal contact information about where your bank has gone, because we forget, in 1990, some banks went out of business, a lot of banks have merged, and we also have links to the FDIC, which also tracks, what the current name of the bank is. So you can then, track them down and get that discharge, and more importantly, get it recorded at the registry, because it's good that you've paid it off. And I know people say, hey, shouldn't someone have done that? Yeah, maybe the attorney involved in the closing. You can call them up and say, hey, you got the discharge, or maybe the bank. But ultimately, it's my property. I want to make sure that, hey, I've paid off all these mortgages. I've paid off that equity line. Make sure the mortgage discharge gets recorded. And along that line, I do want to give a shout out to your local legislators again. Senator Keenan, we have a hearing up at the State House on an assignment bill that Senator Keenan is the lead sponsor. Senator Timilty, Representative Cusack have been supportive. Where there's a requirement that these assignments, when these lenders assign your mortgage, that those assignments get recorded. it has to be done on the land court, which is 20% of Norfolk County. It doesn't have to be done on the recorded land side. So when these people are looking for discharges, they're like, hey, I remember who I was paying it to, but now they're saying they were just the servicer. We don't know who am I to try to track this mortgage down from. So that's why that assignment bill is good. And whether it gets passed at the State House or not, we keep battling. And I think it's a good consumer. Consumer legislation, because
is that something that's going to happen within the year, couple year?
Well, at the State House, there's always special interest that it's too hard to do or we can't do it. Especially the bigger banks, the national banks aren't supportive of it. But I think it's something that's good to have. So we have a hearing, but. We haven't had the success up there, but sometimes you fight the fight and keep doing it, because I do think, as most people say, especially with everyone learning the internet, this information is on the internet. So if these assignments get recorded, people could just look it up on the internet themselves and say, oh, okay, that's the institution that had my mortgage, because it's not like they just paid it off and it's like 60 days ago. These are from mortgage, sometimes, 5, 10, 15 years ago, someone missed a discharge, and now they're like, I don't know who I paid back then.
Right. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about what people are most surprised about when they go to the Registry of Deeds and they're like, oh, I didn't know you provided this service, or I didn't know you provided that service. Is there something that really catches your eye sometimes when somebody kind of walks in and says, hey, Bill, I didn't really know that. Thank you very much for helping us out.
We're in the same building. We share a building with the grand jury, with the jurors. The jurors come in, and what I see is a lot of jurors go to our customer service department, and what they say is, I've been meaning to get a copy of this, and it only took a couple of minutes. I was expecting it was going to be a long. I didn't say that, but we are not the Registry of Motor Vehicles.
All right,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
no, and that's what I hear from just unsolicited from people that are there using the building, like the jurors, that saying, hey, I needed to get a copy of a discharge or a homestead that I found, and it didn't take that. It didn't take that long. I was in and out, and I think that's what I hear the most is that there's quality customer service, and we're always hey, if there's some bad stories, I always tell people, let us know, because unless we get the feedback, we have strived to make it a customer service orientation, and I think we have. The thing of late that we've been hearing from people is this building was built in 1903, where we're located, the Registry of Deeds building. So we had a renovation and repair project that is just finishing. It started a long time ago, but it's really been going great guns in 2018 and 2019. And we've tried to, restore it. There was some damage from the storms in 2015, and we're hearing a lot of great comment like, "Wow, you really have tried to preserve the old historical nature of the building and yet make it functional with computers." So you can come by the registry and use the computers. It's not just for lawyers or title examiners or the engineers. Yeah. We have over 50 computers sprinkled around the building that people can use. So that's another thing we've been hearing of late, only because it's a new renovation that just finished.
I want to bring it all the way back, if we could. Any more numbers you want to share with the public about the last quarter or the last half that kind of took you like, oh, wait a second, this is kind of a trend here? Well,
again, average sale price, it kind of gets skewed because it involves residential and also business. Yeah. I was surprised to see, because anecdotally, I'm hearing people saying, I still, especially the younger people, I'm losing out on this and that, and because there's a lot of competition. So I was surprised. I still perceive that prices are incrementally going up. Some of the numbers suggested otherwise, but maybe because Norfolk County, there's a lot of pockets of great communities where there seems to be a big demand, and Braintree is one of those communities. People want to live in Braintree. So I was surprised that it showed a trend of numbers going down, yet when I'm talking to people, the prices are going up. And maybe it's not like it was a year or two ago as far as multiple offers, but it's still very competitive for buyers to land that house. And the other concern is with the prices, because some people say, I would like to upgrade. but I'm going to get good money for the house I sell, but I'm a little nervous about what I have to spend because I want to upgrade. So people are kind of wrestling with that decision.
I got you. And talk a little bit about, we got a couple minutes left, some of the outreach that you guys work with, maybe with Suits for Success and stuff like that.
I'm glad you mentioned that. In fact, I just yesterday went to the VA. Suits for Success, we take any, not just men's suits, we take women clothing, and as a matter of fact, there's more and more veterans are women, and when we went to the VA, they were very appreciative that we had a lot of women clothes and accessories, scarves, purses. So there aren't as many places to empty out your house if you want to donate some clothing. So the Suits for Success program, people just have been great about coming by 649 High Street in Dedham and dropping off these clothings. And as I said, the Veterans Administration we partnered up with, and we just went by there and made a donation. These suits will get used for people that need it. Things we take for granted, some people don't have. We also have partnered up with Interfaith Social Services. They're out of Quincy. They have a career closet. They make use of the clothes, as does Father Bill's place in Mainspring. And then we partnered up with, it's called Inner City Weightlifting.
I was interested in
they
this
were
one.
younger.
Yeah,
Well, these are people, even though it's outside the county, it's Boston and Cambridge.
Right.
They approached us. They saw what we were doing with these other groups. And they have young people that they're trying to use working out and weightlifting to keep young people out of trouble off the streets. And then some of those people, they're trying to help them with job opportunities, educational opportunities, and sometimes people just need some clothes to be dressed up for that job interview or for that interview with the admissions officer. And Suits for Success has been a good program, but it's only good because people from here, from Braintree and from around the county, make it work. They donate the items, so please continue to do that because it really helps so many people.
And I know you're the 11th Register of Deeds in the history of the Registry of Deeds. Is that correct?
It goes back to 1793.
I got that in my brain.
And that was my daughter's number in hockey, so it kind of very symbolic.
But we got 1 minute left. Talk a little bit about Volume 2 of the booklet that you put, or you're maybe still trying to put together.
Right.
Okay.
We
so
did
give
it for
people
the
a quick
200.
history of
Yeah,
that.
we did it for the 225th. We did Volume 1. I love history. I mentioned how we're doing this, redoing the building and renovating the building. So we're going to have some type of ceremony in the fall. So I need deadlines, just like in school, So Volume 2 we're working on, which is we pick historical figures from around the county. We have some great history, and just try to tie it to the deed. And that volume will be coming out, and maybe.
I want my signed
later.
copy. I just want my signed bill. I just want my signed copy because I already have one. I have the first volume.
We'll
I want
do
the
that.
second one.
Volume 2 is to come.
Where is your house going to be? When you're famous and volume 3 or 4 or something. Bill, thanks again.
I still cut the lawn at that famous house.
Thanks so much for doing
All right,
this.
thanks,
Bill. Appreciate
Keith.
it.
It's been great.
Hey, we've been talking with Bill O'Donnell, the Norfolk County Register of Deeds, and you've been watching Good Deeds. Until next time, I'm Keith Erickson.